What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. Before I get into this video, as always, I want to remind you guys that if you are looking at this video, you haven't subscribed to Too Raw for TV, please subscribe to Too Raw for TV. If you haven't done so yet, hit that little bell that you see to make sure you're notified of all of my videos. And if you haven't done so, please hit the like button. Even if you don't agree with me, if you just at least appreciate the video, please hit the like button. All these things will help as far as my videos being shown. As far as with YouTube is concerned, they have certain things in the algorithm to suppress smaller channels. And if you're subscribed to other channels in the LDBC, please do the same thing for those channels. And this will make the LDBC that much stronger. Now, in this video, I want to talk about. I meant to do this yesterday. I just didn't have time. Um, Most of my time is always going to be on the weekends now. But I didn't have time to do a video yesterday. I apologize. But I want to talk about Michael Jordan, of course, and his comments regarding Steph Curry, and which has so many Steph Curry fans up in arms. And I don't know why the fuck this society is so fucking pussy, man. Every little thing that someone says now, oh, I'm offended by it. Oh, I don't agree with it, so I'm offended. But anyway, it was the same interview where Michael Jordan talking about the health clinic that he opened in North Carolina, which was for little to no, excuse me, little to no health insurance individuals, hiccups. And he was also talking about his stance on activism with modern day athletes. But toward the end of that interview, they started talking about, I think it was 6 years ago, he gave like what starting five would he roll with. You know what I'm saying? Michael Jordan had to choose a starting five. Who would he roll with? And he chose at center Elijah Wan, at power forward James Worthy, at small forward Scottie Pippen, him at the shooting guard, of course, and Magic at the point guard. And Michael said that he would roll with that squad with anybody. And he was asked, somehow Steph Curry got introduced into this thing. I can't remember exactly how Steph Curry got introduced. I'm pretty sure the interviewer did. And Michael just said, look, you know, Steph Curry is a great player, but he's not a Hall of Famer yet, but he's a great player. And this is how I took it. Okay, when I first heard that he said something like that, um, my reaction was, okay, well, Jordan is the type of guy. Look, Jordan is now 16 years removed from his NBA career and 20 years removed from his days with the Chicago Bulls, over 20 years. So Jordan is in a whole different process now when it comes to reflection upon his basketball career. Guys who are legitimate Hall of Famers, I mean, the creme de la creme, like the Jordans, the Magics, the Birds, the Kobe's, the Tim Duncans, the Shaqs. Okay, I'm trying to name guys that are alive. Even Wilt, he was still alive, definitely. Uh, Karl Malone, Charles Barkley. Yeah, championship rings to me kind of don't matter in this situation. It just enhances your career, but it's not the be all. But anyway, these guys kind of don't like to hear active players being mentioned in the same breath as them. And it's because these guys still have the potential to falter. These guys can still, fall off. These guys can still have injuries to derail their careers. They need to prove themselves uh, throughout the totality or nearly the totality of careers to be put in the same conversation with these guys. And this is why I'm so hard on guys like Kawhi Leonard and others, and why I put longevity in my evaluation. Oh man, Kawhi Leonard's not a goddamn. What you talking about? You a hater? He's not top 30. No, he's not. He's not. The guy hasn't scored 10,000 career points yet. He hasn't played in even 500 games yet. No, he's not top 30. But if you knew basketball history, you would know that. He's not a top 30 player. You can make the argument he's cracking top 50, and that's debatable. Me personally, I need to see one more season from Kawhi to feel comfortable putting in the top 50. I need one more season. The guy's only been a three-time All-Star. Okay, three-time. If I'm not mistaken, I think Glenn Rice may have been a 3 or 4 time All-Star. I'm not saying that Glenn Rice is on the same level, but come on, Kawhi hasn't done enough yet. Okay, he won one Finals MVP, by default, kind of, and then he won another one with the Raptors. So yeah, that does put him up there, but that's another argument. To me, after actually listening to what Jordan said, I took it like basically what he was saying to me. This is my opinion. After actually listening to him, I take it like he's saying he's a great player. People don't seem to hear that part of it who criticize the comments. But he's not a Hall of Famer yet, meaning that he hasn't retired and the necessary waiting period has gone past, and then he's inducted into the Hall of Fame. He hasn't reached the Hall of Fame yet. He hasn't reached it yet. He's still playing. That's how I took the conversation. Also, I took it to possibly mean, as I said earlier, that you never know what can happen. Grant Hill in the year 2000 looked like he was on his way to a glorious Hall of Fame career. Probably at least top 20 player. If you add championships to it, arguably top 15. That's how great a player Grant Hill was. I still remember the Slam magazine from 1997. Grant Hill, just like Mike, only better. You know what I'm saying? Grant Hill was at that level. Grant Hill, one year, I think it was 97, drew more All-Star votes than Michael Jordan. So I remember how great Grant Hill was in his career. Okay? Then came the injuries. Then came more injuries. Then came more injuries and more injuries and more injuries still. And he was able to get healthy, and he was able to play actually a long stretch with pretty good health. And I think Grant Hill has 17,000 career points. Um, but when you add his collegiate career, he's going to be a Hall of Famer, but it's not the career that most people envision for Grant Hill. Anthony Hardaway is not going to be a Hall of Famer because of injuries. But the first 4 years of his career, Anthony Hardaway looked like he was on his way to being, and anybody that remembers the 90s know I'm not exaggerating with this, Penny Hardaway looked like he was possibly on his way to being the second greatest point guard in NBA history. He looked like a legitimate top 15 all-time player. So this is part of what Michael Jordan's talking about. Now, Steph Curry, in my opinion, has done enough to warrant a Hall of Fame selection. He's played 10 years. He's won 3 NBA championships. No final MVPs, but multiple All-Star selection. He's popularized the three-point shot to a level where we've never seen before. He's the greatest three-point shooter in the history of the NBA. He's arguably the greatest shooter of all time. So his greatness cannot be questioned. But Jordan feels like by Jordan's criteria, maybe Jordan meant that. Maybe he meant that he hadn't done enough to be in the Hall of Fame. I wouldn't agree with that if that's what he actually meant, that he hasn't done enough. But I think Jordan probably meant that he's not in the Hall of Fame yet, so we can't have that conversation yet with him being on other teams. All these all-time teams. I think that's what he probably meant. Michael Wilbon said that he's had conversations with Michael Jordan and that Jordan loves Steph Curry. You gotta remember that Steph Curry has Charlotte roots. His dad, Dell Curry, played many years with the Charlotte Hornets. And until recently, I think he was the all-time leading scorer for the Charlotte Hornets. I think he was recently surpassed by Kemba Walker, I think. But gotta remember that, like I said, Dale Curry played many, many years with the Charlotte Hornets. And of course, I'm pretty sure that Michael, being from North Carolina, has met Steph Curry and probably has maybe known him in some level since he was a child. The NBA is a family, so he's probably known Steph Curry for a little while. And to see Steph Curry go from a little kid to what he is now, I'm pretty sure he loves him as an individual, as a person. I do know this, though. I do know this. And this is just going back to the days of Jordan's playing career, right? I don't think Jordan and many guys in his generation are too fond of the way the game is played now. I remember reading about Michael Jordan complaining about Reggie Miller, right? And he was complaining about like how guarding Reggie Miller is like playing against a woman. Reggie Miller was the premier catch and shoot guy in the NBA at that time. All right, Reggie was not the greatest at creating his own shot. He relied on screens. He ran around, looking for screens all day, and Jordan or anybody else would have to chase after him, and it could wear you down, especially if you're playing in a series, trying to guard Reggie. It wasn't the traditional one-on-one ISO situation. Reggie ran around, plus he talked shit. And, Michael just thought that Reggie's game was a little bit, I don't know the right word to put it, but he didn't, initially especially, he didn't really like Reggie Miller's game, but he did grow to respect Reggie Miller as a professional. So if you take that in mind in this situation, you can get the impression that Jordan and a lot of other guys really don't like the way the game is played now, with emphasis on the 3-point shot and sometimes not enough emphasis on other aspects of basketball. You know, so that's kind of how I look at it. And also, a lot of people will tell you, and this just drives me nuts when I hear people say this. Like, people say shit sometimes like Steph Curry changed the game. He revolutionized basketball. No, Reggie Miller, excuse me, Steph Curry did not revolutionize basketball. All right, he didn't change the game. Okay, Magic Johnson changed the game. All right, you can make an argument Michael Jordan changed the game because he showed that not only could a scoring champion win championships, although Kareem won one as a scoring champion, but not only could a scoring champion, win championships consistently, but that you could build a team around a guard. Before that, the main goal was to get a solid big man and to build around him. Jordan changed the game with that aspect. All right. Wilt Chamberlain definitely was a game changer. George Mikan definitely was a game changer. Rule changes made a guy like Steph Curry possible. Rule changes helped to make him possible. Now, I'm not saying that Curry should not be taken at face value for everything that he's accomplished. But at the same time, and I say this before and I'll say it again, if Steph Curry was playing 20, 25 years ago, he would be closer to Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf than anything else. I think he'd be a better version of Abdul-Rauf. I think he would still probably average like 20, 21, 22 points per game. But the insane shooting percentages to scoring probably be down a little bit. The type of shots that Curry takes back then probably would bench him. Those were looked at as bad shots back then. So the rule changes helped to create Curry. He just further popularized a process that was ongoing anyway, which was a further emphasis of the 3-point shot. We have been seeing that time and time again anyway. We have been seeing since probably. Mm, I started noticing an uptick in the 3-point shot since the mid '90s, anyway. But definitely after the rule changes in the mid 2000s, we have been seeing it creep up anyway from maybe 14 a game to 17 a game to 20 to 22, and then after Curry, really got popular, then it went up to last year. I think it was 31 attempts or something like that a game. Um, but that's pretty much it. And I also want to say this too about Michael's uh, starting five. That's that man's opinion, man. How can you get mad at somebody's fucking opinion about that? That's the one thing that pissed me off about people. That's his opinion. I have my opinion. You have your opinion. He has his opinion. Okay? Not everybody's going to agree with me, and that's fine. You notice in the comment sections, I give love to everybody. The only thing I get pissed off at is rudeness. You don't have to be rude with people. And you also don't have to treat your opinion like it's a fact. Well, you guys clearly don't know what you're talking about. My opinion is more informed. So therefore that negates your opinion because you don't know what you're talking about. People like that, nah, get out of my comment section. But look at it. Look, this is how it is. Those guys are in Jordan's list for a reason. Magic Johnson, because for most of the first half, well, all of the first half of Michael Jordan's career, Magic Johnson was the dominant player in the NBA. You had Julius Erving, yes. You had Larry Bird, okay. But Magic Johnson was the ultimate winner. He was the ultimate winner. He came into the NBA immediately after winning the NCAA championship against his rival Larry Bird. He came into the NBA, did something which was revolutionary, winning a championship as a point guard, playing at the center position when most people thought that team did not have a shot in hell of winning that finals after Kareem went down. Scored 42 points, had 15 rebounds, 7 assists, dominated at the center position. A point guard, winning a championship. All right, won another title in '82. Won another title after being called Tragic Johnson in '84. Won another title in '85. Then won back to back in '87 and '88, and then went to the finals in '89. You can make the argument, man, if him and Byron Scott were healthy. This is when Byron Scott was at the peak of his career. You make the argument, hey, maybe they could have won a title in '89. They could have three-peated, but history was changed. And then, against all odds, made one more final appearance in '91. Okay, with the Lakers. And I hate to be morbid saying this, but being that Magic was diagnosed with HIV in November, Magic could have had the HIV virus in that finals. You know, I'm not trying to make that a new excuse for why they lost the Bulls, but I'm just saying. So Magic did all of this by age 32. So imagine if Magic Johnson was able to come in the NBA even earlier, what his numbers would have been if he didn't get sick and all these other things. But this is why Jordan admired him so much. Then Akeem Olajuwon. Akeem Olajuwon was the best center in the NBA. Okay, Shaq was the most dominant. David Robinson was probably the most versatile. All right, but when it comes to things he could do on the court, but as far as skill and dominance, it's Akeem Olajuwon. Okay, when Michael Jordan was out those 2 years, Akeem Olajuwon was the best basketball player on the planet, and that's the last time that you can make an argument that the center was the best player in the NBA. Shaq was never considered really the best player. He was always considered the most dominant. Even Shaq will tell you that. Olajuwon was the best player in the NBA from '94 to '96. All right, Scottie Pippen. You know why he's on that list. You know why. All right. Probably the best defensive small forward of all time. In the mid 1990s, he was the best all around player in the NBA. And he's earned Michael Jordan's respect going through those wars. You know what I'm saying? Those wars with the Celtics, those wars with the Pistons, those wars with the Knicks. That was his that was his not only just his teammate, but that was almost like his brother in arms, his soldier. You know what I'm saying? James Worthy never played with each other in the NBA, but of course in North Carolina, James Worthy was the man. People forget that James Worthy was the man in North Carolina, not Michael Jordan. And James Worthy, Big Game James, was one of the all-time great North Carolina Tar Heel players. All right. And James Worthy was able to have a Hall of Fame career despite the fact that oftentimes he was maybe what, third, fourth, as far as like the offensive option. Most of the times the Lakers did not call plays for James Worthy. You know what I'm saying? And he still was able to score 17 to 20 points per game. And when they needed him the most, James Worthy was pivotal. The Lakers would not have won their last championship, in the Showtime era without James Worthy, who had one of the biggest triple doubles in playoff history in Game 7, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was Game 7 in 1988. So those are why he picked those guys, man. All right, those guys are proven performers in Jordan's eyes. And maybe in 10 years, Steph Curry will be on Jordan's list, but he's not. So that's pretty much all I got to say about it, man. Tell me what you guys think.